I'm a stay-at-home mom to my 2.5-year-old and currently 19 weeks pregnant with my quadruple rainbow baby. My name is Lisa and I am a miraculous mama.
Welcome back to the Miraculous Mamas podcast. I'm your host, Elizabeth Joy, and we believe in empowering women through storytelling and education. And I'm so glad that you guys are here with me today. Last week we had Candace King and Kayla Uhl on, and they shared their journeys of motherhood, pregnancy, postpartum. And it was just such a joy being able to chat with them. And their friendship is just so amazing. The way that they talk about each other and the way that they support and encourage and praise each other. It's just so beautiful to see. I feel like that's what women need, is that type of community where you know that you have someone who's always rooting you on and just upholding you and encouraging you and validating you. And so it was really fun to be able to talk with them and just see that in their friendship. Today we have on Meredith Masony. You guys know her as That's Inappropriate on Instagram and YouTube. And she's hilarious. I love following her. Today we keep it real though. And we just kind of dive into what we talk about here, motherhood and the real stuff, and why she wanted to create this community of keeping it real. So we have an awesome talk. Before we dive into that, I just hope all of you guys had a great Thanksgiving week. I know the holidays look different this year for a lot of people, and they certainly do for us. I hope that you're still finding joy. I hope that you're finding gratefulness, and that you're finding ways to still connect with family and friends. We're doing a lot of video chats, FaceTiming and Facebook Messenger and Zoom, and just connecting with our family who we're not able to see because of the pandemic, and, traveling's just different. And just also with a newborn being born, coming into flu season, and we want to protect her immune system, and just, it's hard. It's hard as parents knowing what the right decisions are to make for your kids. And we're definitely figuring it out as we go. We sometimes decide one thing and change our minds and then do something else, and that's okay. I think that's kind of what parenting is. But yeah, I hope you guys are just finding ways to just find the joy in this season. If you guys are listening, make sure you connect with me on Instagram. So Miraculous Mamas Instagram, I share a lot of stuff from the podcast on there. I also share it on my personal page, Sandoz. On my personal page too, I am sharing my breastfeeding journey, the tongue and lip tie journey, going through some sleep training stuff, sharing you guys all the resources that I've been using, the classes and courses I've taken, and discounts for things that I've found. Also, there's little highlights up top, so some information on pregnancy and stuff like that too. So you can always check those out. Also, if you're listening, make sure that you subscribe to wherever you're listening so that you just stay up to date whenever the podcast comes out, and share it. The more you guys share and leave reviews, the more that we get out there, the more that we're able to reach more women and just spread the message of Miraculous Mamas, of creating an inclusive community for moms to just feel accepted. We really take pride in our Facebook group of knowing that a lot of people in there have very different views of parenting and, and even just lifestyles, and that's okay. It's such a great environment, and it's stayed really peaceful. And I'm so proud of the women in that group for continuing to create that community and to be loving and accepting of each other. So I love you guys so much. We are going to go ahead and dive into this interview because it is awesome. I'm so excited for you guys to hear from Meredith and to just learn alongside me. All right, everyone. I have Meredith Masony here. You may know her as That's Inappropriate. And I'm so glad that she is here. She created a community starting back in 2014 and has just grown this group of parents to come together to talk about the truths, the fun, the ups and the downs of parenthood. And she does such a great job of displaying it for us in putting into words the things that you're thinking or that you go through. So thank you so much for coming on and being here today.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
Sorry, I'm actively shooing a child out as we speak, one of 3.
That's parenthood, right?
So thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, well, I'd love for you just to tell us, how did you come up with That's Inappropriate and what inspired you to start the community that you've created?
Oh, geez. Well, I was, at the time that I started this, I was working from home I had the 3 kids, but one was home with me, my youngest. And I was basically starved for adult interaction because working from home, although everybody in today's climate can appreciate it, was new to me because I was a teacher at the time. And so I was always in the classroom, but my youngest had some special needs. And so I had to work from home. So I taught online homeschool, and I just felt so isolated and alone. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. I've got 3 kids. I'm working full time, the house full time, and I had no contact. And I just felt like I was drowning in motherhood. And I decided that I was going to, it was sort of like the emergence of social media for me anyway, because I really wasn't on Facebook or any other platforms until I started staying home. And I was amazed at all the things I saw on social media. Like, I didn't know that so many perfect people existed. So in terms of social media, there were all of these perfect people. And the crazy thing is, I used to work with these people, so I knew their lives weren't perfect, because when I was at work talking with them, they would tell me about the disasters that were their lives. But yet on social media, everybody posted this perfect, pretty picture. And so I decided that I did not want to do that. And so I was going to share some of the things that I thought we really needed to talk about as moms and women and wives.
Yeah, that's good though, because I feel like I even feel that now, even though I know that that's not true. Like, I look at people, I follow some accounts who had babies around the same time I did. And I'm like, how do these people have it all together? There's like no way. I'm like, I haven't worn, I normally just wear stretchy pants anyways, because that's just how I am. And I don't love putting on makeup. It's not something that I need to feel good about myself for the day, or that's like a part of my routine. But I look at these accounts, I'm like, how do these people like get dressed and put on makeup and look all together, and their baby's a week younger than mine, and they were doing it a couple weeks postpartum? Like, how is this even true? Because for me, that just wasn't my reality coming into it, but also wasn't my desire either. Like, I didn't care about getting ready for the day, but I found myself comparing myself to it and feeling like crap as a mom, being like, I'm already failing just because I didn't get ready.
Yeah. And I think that's mostly because we believe that everything in life has to be this competition. And so when we see other women out there, and number one, it's an assumption that everything is put together and whatever. So even if they have a full face of makeup and their hair done, you don't know what happened 5 minutes prior to that photo or 5 minutes after the photo. But we basically are really good. I think women are really good at creating scenarios in our heads and then assuming that that's all what's happening, when in fact it's probably the opposite. And we're all guilty of doing that. I do it still with my husband. When he walks in from when he walks in the door, I assume he should know every thought I'm having immediately. And when he doesn't, it's like, you don't even know me, and it's like, no, relax. Okay. He literally just walked in. He has no idea what's going on, but we do that. And then in turn, we see these perfect portraits online, and that kind of seals the deal. Oh, clearly, look at this, And it gets worse, right? Because you have this tiny little baby at home right now. And at some point people are going to be posting rollover pictures and talking pictures and why you're, oh my gosh, look at her baby is doing this. And it's like, whoa. Take your time. It will all happen all in due time. Just relax. And it's hard because this is all, it's all brand new right now. And so it's a lot of times we get into that loop of just constant comparing, and it does no benefit to anybody. Unfortunately, it's how we're wired. So you have to rewire your brain. And I don't think I really got it until probably baby number 3, because then I realized, number one, I was too tired to care anymore about what anybody else was doing with anything in their lives, because you're outnumbered and exhausted. And my youngest had brain damage from a birth injury, which we found out at about a year and a half, and then was diagnosed on the spectrum and some other issues. So I really learned quite quickly at that point that the only thing that mattered was what we were dealing with and what we were going through. And if we could figure out a way to be okay in our normal, then I was happy. Mm-hmm. But it's hard to get to that spot because of the way our world works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense though. And I feel like that's something that's a good reminder for moms is like, if you are okay, you're okay. You don't have to be like, okay, compared to this person or compared to that person. Like,
oh yeah.
Just
and I mean,
okay.
It is, but the honest to goodness thing is that's really hard to get to that spot because you see so many outside forces telling you need to eat this, you need to dress like this, you need to, go to school here, you need to speak this way, you need to have these friends, and it's none of that matters in the end. And like when the lockdown happened and we were all sitting inside of our 4 walls in our home and looking at each other, it's like, that's what matters. So we're all here together. We've managed up to this point to not kill each other. Although getting locked in for a second time, mm-hmm. and it looks like inevitably, probably most of the country will be locked in again soon with the way things are going. But I mean, it's what matters is what's in your 4 walls. The second you open that window and look out and see something else, those are the distractions. Mm-hmm. And it's not an easy thing to learn, but it's probably the best lesson I've learned in parenting, mm-hmm. is that you just have to focus on it's like I tell my kids, I don't care what your friends are doing. Those are not my children. Mm-hmm. You are my children. This is who I have to worry about. This is who I have to take care of. I don't care what Brandon is doing. Brandon is not my problem. So it's hard to get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We are going to break from this episode so I can tell you about your one-stop shop for Christmas this year, and that is Cratejoy. Cratejoy is the world's first and only subscription box marketplace. You can shop over thousands of unique boxes and gifts for just about anything and anyone that you can imagine. And even better, you can choose the subscription length so you're not locked into anything. They have boxes for women, men, kids, any special people in your life, friends, teachers. That Cratejoy makes the perfect holiday gift. And when you get one and you open it, you're like, oh my gosh, this was made just for me, because they have it down. Their boxes are perfectly put together. It feels like it was curated just for you, and it's such a perfect gift. What stood out to me is how you can enter in who you're looking for, what their interests are, and then all of these options come up. So for myself, I put in whiskey. Maybe I just haven't had one in a long time, but they have all these really cool custom cocktail box sets, but they have ones for self-care, for books, plants. You want a plant of the month? I do. Well, they have it on their website. Cratejoy's got it. And that is what makes them so amazing, because if you're looking for creative ways to show loved ones that you care, you can spread this cheer to them. With Crate Joy, you'll show you care with personalized gifts that keep giving long after the holidays are done, and we could all use some of that this year. And on Crate Joy, you can find so many categories like I already mentioned, but even ones like escape rooms and mystery boxes for adventures at home, the self-care boxes, the cool cocktail kits, monthly book clubs, and do-it-yourself crafts for kids or people of all ages. It's so hard to find great gifts for all the special people in your life during the holidays, but Crate Joy makes it so easy for you. And right now, there's still time to find the perfect gift for everyone on your list. You can shop thousands of subscription boxes all in one place and get 30% off your first box when you sign up at cratejoy.com/mamas. That's right. Sign up today at cratejoy.com/mamas to get 30% off your first box and shop Crate Joy's holiday specials. Crate Joy. Get joy delivered right to your door. So you wrote a book, Ask Me What's for Dinner One More Time. I'd love to hear kind of your inspiration behind it and then kind of dive into some of the topics that you address in there. So what inspired you to write this book? The title's hilarious.
Well, it's basically just a collection of stories about our family. And it's like lesson-ish, advice-ish, so to speak, because I'm really not about giving unsolicited or even solicited advice, because I always say, you can take it or leave it, because this is just what I'm doing. I have no letters after my last name. I'm a mom of 3, and this is how we did things, or we decided to do things. And I always preface it with that, because I think, and I talk about it in the book, there are lots of parenting experts out there. Lots of parenting experts without children, which amazes me, because that I just think is interesting. But I also think that you are a parenting expert on the children that you physically own. You're an expert with those kids. I'm not an expert with your children or somebody else's, but I know my kids inside and out. That's my job. So I always try to remind parents, relax. You know your children. You know what you're doing. Go with your gut and don't stress about those other things, because you really are an expert with your own children. I wanted this book to kind of be like a chapter book for moms, because like my kids come home and they have my youngest, who's in elementary school, they get these chapter books, right? And they're like a quick, easy read, and he gets through them and he enjoys it. And it's just like digestible, bite-sized content. And that's what I wanted this book to be. You could open it up at any point and read a story. And you didn't have to finish it. You could put it down, you could come back to it. You can read it while your kid naps and then not pick it up again for 2 weeks. And you're just picking up a new story. Mm-hmm. It wasn't about writing this, next great American novel. It was about a place that you could go to and open up and find a laugh, find somebody you could relate to, and then pick it up again in a month, whatever. Of course, I have people who I read it in 4 hours. When's your next book? I'm like, well, I have an idea for my next book. I haven't put it pen to paper yet, but and then there are other people that have messaged me and said, I've been so busy. I have 5 kids. I read the first chapter and loved it. I'm going to pick it up again when I have a minute, which could be in 6 years,
right.
because that's life. So that was the idea behind the book. And of course, I told my editor after this one, I said, I love the idea of continuously writing chapter books for moms, because as we go along the journey, things change and new things come up and happen, and you can always learn a lesson. And that's kind of what I like to write about, is learning these lessons as we go.
Mm-hmm. I always feel like those two are the quickest reads, because at least for me, I know when there's just like little chapters, I feel more accomplished. I'm like, ooh, I just read a chapter. I can read another one instead of like super long books.
Yeah. Well, and when they first approached me, when we were talking about the book, it was this whole like potential 500-page thing. And I was like, no, mom. has time for that. That's not a thing that we have time for in our lives. So let's be realistic with what it is that we want to get across and relate and, you know, go from there. Because I was like, I can write 5 more of these books, you know, because as you go, as the kids grow up and we have these new, like right now, I'm really in the throes of puberty and early teen years because I have a 14 soon to be 15-year-old and a 11 soon to be 12-year-old. And it's just, it's just so many emotions and so yucky. And when I get to that book, holy smokes.
Oh, man. So I'd love to dive into a couple topics that you go into in your book. And one of them is mommy martyrdom. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Okay. I'd love for you to talk about that.
I was a mommy martyr for a long time. I was the only one who could do things right in the house. I was the only one who cared about anything. I was the only one who paid attention to our children in the proper manner. I was the only. And the way you become a mommy martyr is by dying to yourself and assuming that role as mom. And now you have lost your name. You have been stripped of your personality. You are just this force that is there to take care of these children. And that is your sole purpose. And I thought that's what I was supposed to do, because when you become a mom, everybody tells you, you know, how, you know, your life is over. Now it's time to live for this child and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And it's just, you grow up, you get married, you have kids, and then that's it. It's like the story's over. And so I felt like I was doing what I was told to do, but I had resentments. I felt like I was giving everybody everything and there was nothing left for me. I felt like it was, I felt betrayed by my spouse, by my kids, by my husband, and that was not a good place to be. And so I had to be really honest with my husband. I had to be really honest with myself, and I had to reevaluate the way I was doing things as a mom and a wife, because my husband is a competent adult. And so he can cook a meal and do dishes and take the kids to school. It wasn't my job to do all of those things. And it's also, unless I ask him, how does he know? Mm-hmm. Because I wasn't asking him. I was being sarcastic and nasty. I was telling him how I do everything. I was resenting him because he worked, very long hours as an administrator. And so I was doing the drop-offs, going to work, the pickups, coming home, getting everybody done. He was still at the high school until late. By the time he got home, I had already done all of the things. And it was exhausting. And it wasn't until I got sick in 2014 and thought I was going to kick the bucket that I realized, I'm still a person outside of being a mom. And there were lots of things that I didn't do with my life. And if my life was over, I had these beautiful children. I had married the right guy, but I didn't do things in my personal and professional life that I wanted to do. I'd put them all on the back burner, assuming at some point I'd get to them.
Mm-hmm. I think that, it's good you were able to come to that realization. And I feel like the sooner that people can, then they don't become the martyr, right?
Right.
All right. We are going to take a break. I am wondering how many of you out there are at that stage where your kids are starting to eat solids or eat different foods, and you're kind of wondering, what am I supposed to feed them, or what should I make them? And Little Spoon is there for you. They have a simple mission to make it easier for parents to keep their kids healthy without sacrificing or breaking the bank. Little Spoon's fresh baby food and kids' meals are just like homemade, but without the hours spent in the kitchen, huge mess, or expensive groceries store bill. These days, parents are busier than ever, and Little Spoon gets it. They ship directly to your door with everything ready in just minutes, and you can pop all their meals in the fridge or freezer, whatever is easiest for you. Little Spoon's baby blends. They're made up of 100 plus organic ingredients, featured in a rotating menu of seasonal recipes designed alongside pediatricians and nutritionists. The best part is it doesn't break the bank and there's no commitments. It's just $3 or less per meal. And for toddlers and big kids, there are over 15 different plates to choose from at any given time. And every recipe is packed with hidden organic veggies and superfoods to ensure your kid gets a balanced meal no matter what. It takes the stress away from you. The best part, every single plate is under $5, and Little Spoon has seriously nailed it. Shipped to your door under $5, no commitments, tons of options, and kids loved it. And I have to tell you guys, I actually tried it too. Vito and I were really curious, and we wanted to, see what our options are. So we ordered some and we taste tested, and they were bomb.com. So right now, go to littlespoon.com/try/mama to get started, and be sure to use our code MAMA to get $15 off your first delivery. That's littlespoon.com/try/mama. Now back to the episode. I recently told my husband, we were getting ready for bed, but I was like, I get so mad at you at night. And he's like, why? And I said, because you get to go to bed and I don't. And I'm, it's because I feel like he works long hours. He works like 12-hour days. He does construction. And once Jovi goes down at night, I mean, when he gets home, he helps out with her and around the house. But once, like, he needs to go to bed too, because he wakes up at 5 a.m. for work. And once Jovi goes down for bed, I feel like that's the only time, a lot of times, that I can get stuff done for like the podcast and just things that I need to get done in general in life. And so there's times where I'm up way later. And I told him, I'm like, I get mad at you sometimes when you're going to bed, because I'm like, well, I want to go to bed, and I don't get to. And there's times where I'm like, yeah, I can do this thing tomorrow, so I will go to bed now. But also that's when I take my shower, and that's when I, just like I said, try to just get the last few things that I need to get done. But I'm glad that I'm able to tell him that, and then also realize, like, I'm not mad at him. It's just like this season of life that I'm in where I might not get as much sleep as I used to.
Yeah, I think and that's one of the reasons that I started doing this, is I wanted to let women know before they got to that spot that I was in that full-blown mommy martyrdom. And I had probably been there for 10 years. I'd probably been in that spot for 10 years. That you don't have to go there. You can choose to remember who you are after you get married and have kids. It was just this whole thing of being told over and over again, like, oh, no, your name is Mom now. It's like, no, my name isn't Mom. My name is Meredith. I am a mom. It's one part of who I am. I have all of these other things that I want to do and be and enjoy. I am, that is one part. It's a wonderful part. I love it. I wouldn't trade it, but that doesn't mean that that's who I am in my entirety. And I think a lot of people are like shocked by that. It's like, well, what do you mean? Like, that's who you are now. And it's like, no, it's part of who I am. And it took this life moment for me to get shocked out of that, to wake up from that. But I do believe that as a result of that, whether it's true or not, I've tasked myself with telling others, like, hey, think about these things as you get sucked down the rabbit hole of motherhood, because you are entitled to self-care. You are entitled to taking a break. You are entitled to not having to do all of the things all of the time. You are entitled to wanting to explore what you want to be when you grow up, quote unquote, whatever that is, professionally and personally. I think a lot of times we get worried that, oh gosh, I'm 33. I should already know what I want to do. Why don't I know what I want to do? Because nobody knows what they really want to do. Like, I wish people would stop saying, I think it's hilarious. You pick a major in college at 19 It's like, you have no clue who you are at 19. You have no idea what you want to do at 19. You know, I know that I finally paid off my student loans, but I'm not doing anything with my college degree, you know, way to go. I mean, it's like, oh my God. But at the same time, the same thing happened. I'm not the same person I was at 23, 22, 30 for that matter, you know? And so you go through this journey and you are supposed to change. Somebody said, I can't give the proper credit to the quote, but they said, I remember where I came from, but that doesn't mean that's where I want to stay. Mm-hmm. You know, like, you're supposed to move on from things, because people always say, oh, you should remember where you came from. Well, I remember where I came from, but that doesn't mean I want to live there anymore. Mm-hmm. I want to go to a different zip code, you know, like, you're supposed to evolve. And so that's, you know, sort of why I write my books. It's why I have my online community. It's why we have a supporters page. It's why we have these groups. You know, it's when I used to do live events, boy, do I miss those. You know, it's why we do that. It's why we do what we do. It's why we have our podcast, because I want these women to know, number one, you're not alone. Number two, you're not failing. You're doing all the things you're supposed to be doing. It's just a really hard job. I always said I want to be on Mike Rowe's podcast or TV show, because the dirtiest job on the planet is being a mom. I believe that hands down. So I just think that when we have people out there who advocate for these moms, these women, these wives who can get lost in the shuffle, that, you know, we have a chance at letting the newer moms know, hey, you're still in there. You keep being you, because you can do both. Women are fantastic multitaskers. You can do these things. Don't lose yourself, you know, because I did. Now, if you've lost yourself, don't freak out. You can find yourself. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it.
Yeah. We are going to take a break from this episode because I want to share with you something that over 30 million women are impacted by, and that is weakened and thinning hair. But you can take back control of that with Nutrafol. I recently did a poll on my Instagram because I was curious how many people suffered from postpartum hair loss, how long it affected them, are they still struggling with it? And so many people answered yes, long after they were done breastfeeding, after they're done having kids, they're still trying to grow back their hair. And I just am so excited to share Nutrafol with you because it is a targeted formula for women that is clinically shown to improve hair growth and thickness with less shedding through all stages of life. One thing that I love about Nutrafol too is that they believe in healthy hair growth from within, and they target the root causes of thinning, which are stress, hormones, environment, nutrition, and metabolism. And it's 100% drug-free. Can I get an amen? And in a clinical study, 86% of women reported improved hair growth after 6 months. More than 1,500 top doctors recommend Nutrafol as an effective and high-quality solution for healthier hair. And you can grow thicker and healthier hair and support our show by going to Nutrafol.com and using promo code MAMAS. And new customers will get 20% off. This is their best offer available anywhere, plus free shipping on every order. Get 20% off at Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code MAMAS. Now, back to the episode. I feel like it's harder with everything going on in the world right now because I'm so limited on... Like, I've been out to eat at a restaurant twice since March, you know, like I've taken this pandemic seriously, and my family has, and we're doing what we feel like is best for our family and, you know, taking precautions.
You have a newborn baby.
Right.
Yeah. You have a brand new baby. There's, if I had a brand new baby, there would be a moat around my house filled with crocodiles and nobody would be getting in. Mm-hmm. So like you're in a very, and that's, you know, that is one thing. Being on social media, pretty much all of my time in our lives live out in front of a camera, pretty much, you know, I'm watching these women in my community talk about how they are just having babies, whether it's their first or third or fifth or whatever. And I'm thinking about you guys, because mine are older. Mine did go back to school when the schools opened back up in mid-September, I think it was. But we've already been quarantined twice. But my kids are older. So you just, whether it's the right train of thought or not, you just feel like, okay, we've got bigger kids, we eat well, we exercise, we take our vitamins, we follow the precautions, we wear a mask, we wash our hands, we're doing what we're told to be doing, but then we end up quarantined anyway. Mm-hmm. So I agree with you. Like if I had a newborn, I don't think anybody would be coming anywhere near us. I'd have cannons.
Yeah. I feel like it has contributed though to like that. I don't feel like, I feel like I'm so new that I have like losing myself or whatever. I'm just in survival mode right now. And it's going great. She's such a joy in our lives. And I love her so much. She she laughed really loud yesterday for the first time. And we were like, oh my gosh, trying to video it. And of course, then she doesn't laugh, but it's just like, it definitely is hard. And I've noticed for myself, cause I'm a very like easygoing person. And I've had this anxiety, and it's what you call momxiety, right? And yes. I've found myself like, I was talking to my friend and I didn't realize that maybe I'm a little crazy the other day, but maybe it is totally normal. And she's like, how's motherhood going? And I'm like, great. We were FaceTiming. And I'm like, I've definitely had a little anxiety. Like I lay in bed at night and I think somebody's like breaking in our house and trying to kidnap her. And I like any noise I hear, I'm like up and I'm like, is somebody trying to steal and I don't know. It's like, is this like, I feel like somebody's trying to kidnap our kid, or I feel like somebody's trying to break into our house. And it's like, those are just things I wouldn't really have thought of before. But now it's like she's in the bassinet next to our bed and I can't even turn my back to her to go to sleep. I have to like lay on my back or face toward her to make sure and I'm like, oh my gosh, is this momxiety?
It is. You have a full-blown case of it. I would love to tell you that it gets better. It just gets different, right? So the other night we were in bed, same thing happened, heard a noise, which my husband can sleep through anything. Yeah. I'm up like the meerkat. I'm looking around. I kind of walk out. I hear a creak again. I'm looking. I don't find anything, which makes me suspicious. I go back to the bed. I lay down. I hear it again. I'm up again. I'm walking down the halls, and it was just something got blown in the room. A fan got left on that one of the kids didn't turn off, and something blew off of a shelf or whatever. And but you don't ever, once you have kids, you never sleep as soundly again, I swear, as you once did. And you do miss that. You miss sleep in that sense. But our brains are just wired so differently, men and women. And you worry about those things. It's totally normal. I've had all of those fears about. And the other thing too, when you think about it logically, it's like, why is somebody breaking into our house tonight to kidnap my kid? Why is that happening? Out of all of the houses across the land tonight, why is somebody going to do that? But the logical brain isn't what's causing that anxiety. It's the illogical part of the brain. It's the same, it's the same reason why you panic, just getting in the car to go and do a normal thing. And then you see a car that kind of looks like it's coming into your lane a little funny. And then you have all of these awful thoughts of like, what happens if we get run off the road and then we're in a ditch and nobody finds us? And it's like, oh my gosh, but those things happen to us now, right? Because we have these very precious pieces of cargo that we have to care for. And there's nothing more important than these pieces of cargo. And so your brain automatically switches into this high gear. And so you have to find ways to kind of talk yourself down and realize that, no, I don't think there's a kidnapper outside the window. Mm-hmm. Probably not.
Most likely not.
Most likely not. But it is a thought that every mom has had. I remember those nights where the baby falls asleep and you just watch them to make sure they're still breathing.
Because you're like convinced like something's going to happen too.
Well, because you've never had anything so literally priceless.
Mm-hmm. And something too that like their life depends entirely on yours.
Right. And so that's why I'm saying it gets different as they get older. So there are things now, because my youngest is 10, right? So I'm not in his room watching him sleep, but he's taken up skateboarding and he doesn't like to wear his pads. And so he comes in with a new bump and a bruise every single day. And now my husband was like, let's build him a ramp. And I'm like, this is a terrible idea. Like, I don't want like anybody falling off of a ramp in the middle of COVID to have to go to the emergency room. But yet we're building a ramp because you can't not live your life for fear that something may or may not happen. But at the same time, I've had my daughter's already broken her arm twice. These things happen. My son broke a foot, like they break things happen, but it is, you own something very priceless now. So that fear, that worry is something that comes along with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely new chartered territory for me because I feel like I lived my life very like free. I did some really crazy things. Like I went to foreign countries and hitchhiked and slept on people's couches and did crazy things and didn't worry at all. I'm like, I'm going to be fine. Oh, this stranger's going to give me a ride. I trust you. I get a good vibe from you. I think I'll be okay. And now I'm like, ah.
It's funny how quickly it happens and it comes on. And I think that part of that is necessary because we do have to be vigilant about taking care of them and making sure that they're getting the things that they need. But at the same time, as they grow, you realize that, they're going to be okay. You have to weigh the risks of things. We've already been talking about my son because he'll be getting his permit next year to drive. And it's like, now I'm going to own a child who wants to get behind the wheel of a car. And that's a whole other like level of intensity that I'm not prepared for, but that's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to grow up and get driver's licenses and go to college or get a job or do whatever. They're supposed to do those things. And we forget that they're supposed to do those things because we want to keep them safe. Your job to keep them safe. Well, we can't put them in a bubble. So wouldn't it be nice? Mm-hmm. We could just bubble wrap them and keep them. I don't know what my favorite age was. I feel like it was maybe 4 or 5, like when I'm thinking about age, like when they were just so cute and loved me all the time and I could do no wrong in their eyes because now I'm the meanest mom ever. But at that time, I couldn't have possibly have been the meanest mom ever because I was the best mom ever, so, but you can't. But that's why I say totally when you're recording your baby, making these giggle laughs and whatever, you have those videos and you do post them like on Facebook or whatever. Because every time I get a Facebook memory and it's a video of my kid doing something from like 6 years ago or 10 years ago, it's like, oh my gosh, it's like the best thing ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So another thing that you talk about in your book is aging gracefully. I need to know about that.
That's a tough one because as women, I think we have an idea of how we think we should look. And this has been a big year for me in terms of that because I turned 40. I'm hitting hot flashes and weight gain and all of these other delightful things that come along with menopause. And I have had to really stop myself and remind myself to be graceful with myself because the things I say to myself, I would never say to another woman.
Mm-hmm.
I would never say, how do you weigh 142 pounds now? That's like, what are you doing with your life? Like, you've always weighed 135 pounds from the time you were, 25. Like, this is what you've always done. And it's like, well, okay, but now I'm 3 kids in, going through early menopause, and I'm 40. Maybe I shouldn't weigh 135 pounds anymore. And it's like, you work out twice a day, and yet you still can't manage to do. And it's like, okay, I would never say that to another person. Would never. But to myself, I would say it. So I have to remind myself along the way that my body is changing. My hair is turning gray. My nipples are cross-eyed. Like, this is just part of the process, and I have to be okay with that. I also believe that the women who get Botox and butt lifts and lip injections, I say, if that's what you want to do, go for that too. Like, if that's going to make you feel better, I'm not opposed to that either, because it's about how you feel. What do you need to feel good about yourself? Like, you talked about moms who, I don't need to put on makeup to feel good. Well, some women like to put makeup on and they feel better. And, because I have friends who Botox, and I'm like, damn, you look great. And it's like, well, I look great because I have Botox in my forehead, and it's like, okay, all right. I feel that. But like, it's to each their own. It really is. Like, it's not it's your job to do things to make you feel good. Like, so that's what I work out twice a day because it makes me feel good. Mm-hmm. I'm a high anxiety person. I feel better after I work out. That makes me feel better. I also like potato chips. It makes me feel better. So I eat potato chips or Oreos or, and like I say, all things in moderation. But you have to find a way to be graceful to yourself, because it's hard. It's hard to have those feelings of, I used to look like this, or I used to weigh this much or whatever. And it's like, well, that doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. And there is something about turning 40 and being freer, because I have realized, like, this is it. My body has been through 6 surgeries, 3 children, this is what you got now. This is, and I actually cleaned my closet out the other day, and I got rid of a bunch of things that I was saving because I was going to fit into them one day. And then I realized I'm never going to fit into that again. And that's okay. Right. Because my body doesn't look like that and will never look like that again. Wouldn't matter how many workouts I did in a day. Physically, my body is changing as a result of aging and early menopause and all of these things. So I just have to be honest. And it felt really good to pack up some of these shirts and pants and things that it's like, it's not ever going to fit again. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I recently did the same thing too. I had like a pair of jeans from like 7 years ago. And when I fit in them though, I wasn't very healthy, but I will never fit in them again. And I wasn't taking care of my body the way that I should. And yeah, I guess when you hear the term aging gracefully, it's like, oh, do you have a beauty tip? Do you have this? But I love the way that you're talking about it. It's like giving yourself grace as you're aging and going through different seasons and changing. The other day I laid on my closet floor and cried because, there's parts of myself that I don't recognize right now. Like I'm in this season where my body is still healing, and it's hard because I wanted to fit, back into my cute fall clothes, and I don't yet. So I laid on my closet floor and cried and had a moment, and then, reminded myself how grateful I am for my body for bringing me Jovi and for carrying a healthy baby, and, and that maybe I'll fit in those pants again one day, and maybe I won't. I don't know.
So,
right. But that's the whole thing is I think we do get lots of, the one thing I will say, because you talked about beauty tips, because I'm definitely not the person to come to for beauty tips, but the one thing I did realize the importance of was your skincare and like because I ended up with a skin cancer on my forehead because I'm like Florida grown, like been here a long time. And so I, started having things hacked off and, I was at the dermatologist and she was like, you really got to take care of the skin on your face. She's like, no more sun, hats, this, that, and the other thing. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. Like it's so funny how you think your face is always going to look like the same way. And then it's like, oh my gosh, it's not. Like I have to take care of it. So I'm not a makeup person, but I am somebody who is definitely taking care of my skin now because I realized you can't beat it up in the sun for years and then think it's just gonna, be nice to you. So the only thing that as I've aged, I have said, oh, maybe I should take care of my skin.
My sister and I were laughing. We grew up in Nebraska and the summers there get really hot. It'll be like over 100 degrees. And we used to lay out on our back deck and tan, and we'd put like baby oil all over our bodies and we'd put sun in our hair. And it's just like looking back and laughing. It's like now I'm like, I put SPF on my face every day, even if I'm not even going to go outside. It's just like in the products that I'm using. And, it is true. Taking care of your skin and stuff definitely is important. And it's just funny how you change, right? Like my husband told me, he's like, I feel like I've never seen you tan. And I'm like, because I just don't lay in the sun anymore. Like I don't. And then we went on our honeymoon and he was like, oh my gosh, I got like super tan because we were in Thailand and we were at the beaches. And he was like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, I know, I told you I can get tan. I just don't I don't enjoy sitting in my own sweat anymore and laying outside, So, but yeah, we used to just lay on the baby oil so bad.
Yeah. See, now if you see me at the beach, I have on a hat, a long sleeve shirt, probably with a hood, a hat over the hood. It's like there is no sun coming in. And the rule is that when we go to the beach, because we're right on the coast, so we are beach people, but I'm an umbrella person. Mm-hmm. So it's like we can sit at the beach, but I sit under the umbrella, and everybody else has SPF 1 million. Like that's just what we do now. But I was that kid who played sports and I was in the sun all the time. I wasn't necessarily laying out, but I played soccer, ran track. I was constantly in the sun, and nobody was giving us sunscreen as kids. Mm-hmm. Was not a thing. Sunscreen was not a thing. So yeah, but of course it's funny, it wasn't something that our parents wasn't beat into their brains, like to put sunscreen on your kids like it is now. Right. Because we know it's the same thing as like, my grandmother was probably 12 when she started smoking. Mm-hmm. Everybody smoked. It was like they had like smoke breaks at the middle school. You know what I mean? It was just a thing. Like you have to think back to like that time, and nobody was worried about like you just smoked. It was socially acceptable, and it wasn't something that was bad for you. So as we age and we learn these things, I kind of feel like once you know it, you can't ignore it. Mm-hmm. Right? So like I know I have to. We should be using sunscreen. We know today that if we go out, we need to wear a mask, because that's what we're dealing with in our daily life. We know smoking cigarettes is unhealthy, so it's just once you have to pay attention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'd love for you to touch on your podcast as well. So I know that we've like talked about more serious topics and stuff on here, but your Instagram's actually like really funny. Cause just even you being honest in the moments, it's just like the way that you express it is just like, you have this hilarious kind of spin on everything. And then when did you start your podcast?
So the podcast we've been doing for I want to say we started it in 2018. I feel like we did, but it's myself and my friend Tiffany Jenkins from Juggling the Jenkins. We co-host it together. It's called Take It or Leave It, an advice-ish podcast for parents. And each week we just get on and we talk about the things that are going on in our lives, our marriage, with our kids. It's a fun podcast. We take callers. We have guests sometimes. And it's just a way to kind of connect and, remind everybody that we're all kind of doing the same things. And no, I don't currently have a newborn, but I can relate to you when you're talking to me about the way that you're feeling, because I have felt those feelings, and so we kind of talk about that, so people can call in and ask questions, or we have guests on. But it's a lot of fun, and it's another way to connect with people. I just feel like, if there's a platform out there and I can find a way to connect to moms, I have to do that. I love to do my Instagram stories because I want to remind people that we're all going through these things every day. Like we really and truly are. It's not, I always say that the Kardashians may have somewhat invented reality TV, but their lives are not reality. Like right. What they're showing on camera is not a reality for anybody but a Kardashian, right? So I kind of feel like my job is to say, okay, I feel like our reality is probably way more it's closer to your reality, right? Like dealing with the kids and packing the lunches and getting everybody to school and dealing with the drama that is an 11-year-old girl. Middle school girls are, scary movies should be made about middle school girls, because that is the scariest movie. Like everybody talks during Halloween season, like, oh, did you see that new horror movie? It's like, no, I live a horror movie. Mm-hmm. I have a middle school daughter. Like that is scary stuff. Like puberty is scary. You want to talk about scary things. Hormones are scary. Mm-hmm. That we like to talk about and show those things, because if I've, like you laid on the floor and cried, you had your pit of despair moment where you were trying to find your fall clothing line to get, feel like you again. And it just wasn't happening. And you had your pit of, I call them sometimes the trenches moments, the pit of despair moment. I've had that. Millions and millions and millions and millions of other women have had that feeling. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about that feeling so that somebody else can feel better. Like that's what I want to do. I go on and I talk about these things because I want you to know you're not alone. I want you to feel better. And I want you to know that tomorrow you're going to get to do it again. Right? Like it'll be something different, but you'll do it again, and that's okay. It's not supposed to be private jets and 40th birthdays on private islands. Like that's not the reality for the rest of us. Now, nothing against the Kardashians. Boy, oh boy, if those women found out how to be massive entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to the reality, and here's the other thing too, Kim Kardashian, Khloe, all of those, they're moms. They might not be posting this stuff, but they've had pit of despair moments. They've been on the floor in their closet crying, whether they photographed it or videoed it or not. Mm-hmm. They've been there. I just like to share those moments because I feel like it gives us that feeling of being less alone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I feel like that is important because like I said, how I, saw other people who I felt had this mom thing down, like who had babies around the same time I did. And they're like dressed up in matching cute outfits and they're all done up and they curled their hair and they, look like they just are so productive. And I compared myself. I feel like that's why like communities like yours are so important to like see the realness and to know that, for a lot of people, Instagram's a highlight reel, and for people like you, it's reality and you can go there and be like, okay, I'm not alone. And, Meredith, smelt something weird in her car the other day and posted a funny video about it. So you post the real moments. And I feel like that's so important. So So thank you for keeping it real on there for people like me.
That's everybody always says, well, what was the secret sauce in finding success online? And it's like, just being relatable, be you, and talk about the things that other people can relate to. There's no secret sauce. Mm-hmm. It's not a secret. Just be who you are and relate to others. And that in turn forms that relationship that they want or that they need. So I just, it's not about the Big Mac sauce, as I like to say. There is no secret sauce. The recipe is simple. Be you, and people will relate to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So where can people, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come on, especially you're on lockdown right now in your house with your kids and you're, busy. So thank you so much for still coming on and sharing with us. And where can people find and follow you, listen to your podcast and buy your book?
Well, no, thank you for having me. It was a blast. You can find me on Facebook at Meredith Masony. You can find me on Instagram, Meredith Masony. The podcast is on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify. It's called Take It or Leave It, an advice-ish podcast for parents. And you can find my new book, Ask Me What's for Dinner One More Time, on Amazon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Meredith, for coming on and just keeping it real with us and connecting with our listeners.
Well, thank you for having me.
It was so much fun talking with her. Make sure you guys find and follow her. I'll link everything in the show notes. And I'm just super excited. You guys, I can't believe this year's almost over. Oh my gosh. And I think Vito and I are probably going to do like a resolution episode. So if you guys have any questions for us, make sure that you write those in. If there's any guests that you guys want me to bring on in the new year, please reach out to me. I love hearing what you guys want to hear. What do you want to learn? Or maybe it's not a guest, maybe it's a topic. And I've had several people write me topics, and I want you to know that I have notes of all of them. And then it's just a matter of finding the right person to speak to them. So like for me, I would love to bring a tongue and a lip tie expert on, but finding the right person to bring on is the harder part, to bring somebody on who can educate us and that we can, that will be able to give us really good resources and information. So I do have a list of stuff for people to reach out to. So keep it coming. I love hearing that from you. Again, make sure you guys are leaving reviews. I just want to thank you to everybody who has left reviews. They mean so much. I love it's a labor of love, and you guys keep me going, and hearing that you guys are loving it and that you are supporting the podcast just means so much to me and to our production team, because it's, like I said, it's a labor of love. We're doing this because we're passionate about it and we care about it. So thank you again so much. And if you want to support the podcast in other ways, make sure that you're checking out our sponsors and using those discounts. We have some awesome ones for the holidays for you guys to use. There's the FrameBridge and Crate Joy and things like that are such amazing gifts to give people. So make sure you guys are catching those discounts and getting them, because they are just, you can't ask for better Christmas gifts. All right. We will talk to you guys next week. I love you. Bye.
If you want to be the most interesting person at the cocktail party, well, hop on over and listen to the Brain Candy podcast.
Our award-winning content will have you laughing while you're learning.
We read all the best articles, books, and studies, and keep up with new TV shows, documentaries, and pop culture. And then we cram it all into 2 shows a week.
Conspiracy theories, cannibal rabbits, unsolved mysteries, the history of the Walkman. There's something for everyone.
The Brain Candy podcast. Find our link in the show notes.
Or simply search for the Brain Candy podcast on your podcast app.